President Trump came out and spoke last night, 2 days after a mob of supporters of his stormed the Capitol and under a lot of duress and criticism over his egging on of that mob. He did speak last night and said he was willing to go along with an orderly transition of power.
Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power.
Less than 2 weeks left, and we're looking at a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power, although, in a bit of a vacuum, right? Rick Newman is joining us now. And I say in a bit of a vacuum because A, he's under a lot of fire still, and B, he's, I was going to use the rats and sinking ship reference, but a lot of cabinet members are fleeing the administration as well as other advisors.
Yeah, and maybe this is the best thing that can happen. Trump wants us to believe that everything is fine after everything we've been through, on Wednesday and for the last 2 months. So maybe we're finally going to get to the smooth transition Trump promises. But of course, going on around all of this are calls for Trump to resign, calls for Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment and remove Trump from power, and of course, the odds of another impeachment trial in Congress. I don't think any of those things are likely to happen. I think what's most likely is we just limp our way to January 20th and Trump leaves and Biden takes over. But there's going to be obviously lots of fireworks up until then.
Rick, you've spent the last 4 years of your life basically writing about Donald Trump and about all the things that he's done for the economy, politically. But I mean, what do you do after this? Is he still a big part of the conversation? Because the people who were in Washington, D.C., they vote, and they're not going to stop voting when Trump is, I would assume they're not going to stop voting when Trump is no longer in office. And is that is the problem here for the Republican Party to figure out what to do with the folks that are standing in front of Trump on the dais there a couple days ago?
Yep, absolutely. And I think one of the enduring stories of what happened just in the last, let's say, 4 days is that Trump shattered his political power as the once leader of the Republican Party. So the Republican Party is now basically two parties. It's the traditionalists who are now breaking off from Trump. So that would be Mitch McConnell and, let's say half the members of the Senate, maybe. And then there's the sort of rump Trump party, which is, Kevin McCarthy, the people who continued to stick with Trump, continued to try to sort of block Joe Biden from taking power. And then all of those nativists who still support Trump out in the country. They represent a lot of votes, but you also have, look what's happening in the business community. Businesses are now vocally turning against Trump and his form of republicanism and saying, we've got to get past this. So the Republicans have a giant problem now. Who are they? What does their party stand for? And what do they do about Trump? I mean, we can only, my best guess is Trump is, once he's out of office, he may go quietly, but once he's out of office, he's not going to stay quiet. He's going to start militating again and trying to rejuvenate Trumpism and attacking members of the Republican Party who don't go along with him. So this is just a giant problem for the party.
Rick, what do you think President Trump's legacy on the U.S. economy is?
It's two parts. The economy was doing pretty well before COVID, and now it's doing terribly. I mean, the Trump economy is worsening as Trump leaves office, as we can tell by today's terrible job numbers. So, Trump failed to get a handle on coronavirus. He's done literally nothing about the coronavirus pandemic since the election. And those have been 2 months when it has gotten to the worst levels yet. I think Trump is just going to end up being regarded as a terrible president because of everything we've seen this week, everything we've seen since he lost the election in November, and his neglect of the coronavirus pandemic, which, as we have been talking about for the last 10 months, directly affects the U.S. economy, which stinks right now.
Yeah, Rick, to your point, the president has sort of said, this is this exogenous thing that exists over here, the pandemic. Oh, this terrible pandemic that descended upon us, as though he had no control whatsoever and could do nothing about it. And we have seen that that's not the case, especially as we've seen the playbook in other countries. Rick Newman, thank you so much, as always, for your perspective.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.